always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it.
ZBrush is awesome, but it's topology. We can to even capture the detail, right? So let's jump back here. We'll undo this. So in my case, what I can do is I can divide up. You can see I'm at subdivision level 4 right now. So let's go to 6, which is pretty high. And then problems, right? Well, what we can do is bring the morph brush back. And then with this morph brush, I can just morph it back to the original shape just to get the parts that are problems. There you go. So now if we jump back and forth, you can see I get all the details, but I also get the nice. Now if we jump back and forth, you can see I get all the details, but I also get the nice clean topology. Now the reason why this is super, isolate everything except the inner mouth, and then I can just paint a mask. So I come in here, I'm just gonna paint a mask along the border edge. There you go. So I'm just saying, hey, don't project this stuff. Now we hit project all. There you go. You can see the changes from the other mesh came through. Now we get the detail, but then we still have these problems, right? Well, what we can do is bring the morph brush back. And then with this morph brush, I can just morph it back to the original shape just to get the parts that are problems. There you go. So now if we jump back and forth, you can see I get all the play. So then whenever, and if you're not careful, this gets zeroed out. And then you are in a problem, because if you export your model out and bring it into any other kind of ZBrush, you start with a base fill master, and I have used this when I'm in a real bind. It's not going to be perfect to do, and then you jump up, and that's reals. And then the best practice, keep it low. Tip number here, right? So I can step down and I can step up. Now the mesh divide like this. On your mesh, well, let's delete like this. Boom. Now I have two subtools, so now I split. So now what do I have? I have the head and I have the arms as separate objects, but they don't have subdivision levels. Well, I can come over here, I can click reconstruct, and now I'm back down to all 4. Same with the head. Boom, boom, boom. Now I have two subtools, and I have all the detailed cases where you need to perform actions on your mesh that need to have no subdivisions. Here's an example. So I have this character, it's got 4 subdivision levels, but it's got this arm that's welded, right? But maybe I don't need this torso. Like maybe he's gonna have a shirt on like this, you know? So I don't need this torso. Okay, well, let's delete like this, like this. All right, so then now I'm gonna delete hidden, doink. So now all that stuff's gone. That's how it would divide. So everything would have to be perfectly divisible by 4. If I divided this again, then it would divide like this. Reconstructing is just going down, but it has to have this perfect poly count so that it can divide by 4. So why is this button here? Why is it useful? It is useful sometimes in cases where you need to perform actions on your mesh that need to have no subdivisions. Here's an example. So I have this character, it's got 4 subdivision levels, but it's got this arm that's welded, right? But maybe I don't need this torso. Like maybe he's gonna have a shirt on like this, you know? So I don't need this torso. Okay, well, let's delete like this, like this. All right, so then now I'm gonna delete hidden, doink. So now all that stuff's gone. Now I'll also split. Okay, so now, boom, so now I split. So now what do I have? I have the head and I have the arms as separate objects, but they don't have subdivision levels. Well, I can come over here, I can click reconstruct, and now I'm back down to all 4. Same with the head. Boom, boom, boom. Now I have 2 subtools, and I have all the detail that I sculpted. I have the pieces that I want, and I didn't lose anything. I just got to separate it. And that's because I could reconstruct, because obviously I can go all the way up, I can go all the way down. Next, I want to share a couple brush settings that I think are really useful that if you don't know about are going to change your life. Okay, here's the first one. Back face masking, because how many times has this happened, right? You're over here, you know, you're in the zone, you're sculpting some stuff, and you're like, yeah, dude, I'm doing some cloth. Oh yeah. Got my listening to my tunes, just chilling. But then, oh, you realize, what's this? Oh, it's been going through. That's not what we want. You can see now, if I get the clay brush and I just go really hard, look at that. No. Well, you can use backface masking in brushes, auto masking, backface mask. I actually put it in my UI because I use it a lot. So now with backface mask on, that doesn't happen. I will say it can cause its own problems. This isn't perfect. This isn't something you want to just leave on all the time. But definitely when you're running into this exact problem, it's going to be just on these like little nooks and crannies or things where meshes or planes are right next to each other and you just need to do a detail. Then you can just check on backface mask and then turn it off whenever you're done. So really, really useful little thing if you're not aware of it already. All right, next tip, since we're on the subject of brush parameters, is something that has to do with the smooth brush. If you are used to this sort of thing, check it out. I can come in here and I go, you know what? I want to smooth all this. Well, look what's happening. You can see here, right? This dip. We don't really want that. Sometimes smooth. 3. If we drop that down to 1, now we can smooth everything. Check that out. Now we're smoothing it all. Yeah. See, no problemo. Useful. Just that took me years to find, and every once in a while, smooth all this. Well, look what's happening. You can see here, right? This dip. We don't really want that sometimes. But what's happening is the borders are pinned. See that? The borders ain't going nowheres. Well, sometimes you do want the borders to go somewhere. Sometimes. So this is nice that it's on by default, but I'll show you where you can turn this off. So if we hold down Shift, you can actually see, right, that it switches to the smooth brush. So actually, when I go to the brush settings, when I'm holding Shift, I'm changing the smooth brush settings. Crazy. But here we go. So smooth brush modifiers, and you'll see here, minimum connected points to smooth. 3. If we drop that down to 1, now we can smooth everything. Check that out. Now we're smoothing it all. Yeah. See, no something. It's got some organic armor on there. Super common thing to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an organic shape, and then we want to extrude it out to make some armor, right? So really common to do in ZBrush, and this is how we do it. Let's make a swoopy shape. Really cool Batman-y shape. Check that out. Cool. There we go. Nice. Maybe he should be able to bend his arm a little bit. Okay, cool. There we go. So we'll come down here and we'll go to polygroups, group, masked. Now we look at our polygroups. There you go. So we're halfway there, but obviously the problem is these jagged edges. Either the resolution of the mask or the resolution of the mesh is not going to be perfect. That's okay, because we can use the smooth groups brush. Come into Lightbox, brush, smooth, and smooth groups. So credit does go to Mike Clymer, who I initially saw this from a ZBrush Summit in like 2017. And when he showed it, you could tell from the crowd that even though it had been around for a while, people hadn't been using it or seeing it.
With smooth groups on there, if I paint over that group edge, yeah, that's the same reaction I got last time.
So here you go. We have the smooth groups brush. You can see it's smooth groups now. So now when I hold Shift, there you go. Magic happens. Turn off the line. There you go. So always super satisfying to see too. Honestly, sometimes I just invent reasons to use this because it's the most satisfying brush to use. I mean, look at the nice curvy thingies on here. Look at that. Doesn't it make you just want to make groups and smooth them? So look at that. Nice and tight. So boom. Can do this. Delete hidden. And then we can do some Z remesh from here. And now because we have a perfect line, look at that topology. Perfecto. Woo. All right, so we'll set this to 1, set a height and thickness, hit panel loops, doink. And then now we got a little thingy here. Then we could even do like a cool bevelly, chiselly thing if we wanted to, like insert an edge loop right here, delete that one, group that, and then go crease polygroups, divide up, boom, boom, boom. Look at that nice smooth thing, right? Now we could like uncrease everything, give it a little bit of a polish, boom. So there you go. There's the smooth groups brush. So awesome, fun, and satisfying to use. Like I said, you know, I use this a lot. I'll try to draw on it. Oh, look, I can't do it because it's got multiple subdivision levels. I knew that. I just left this in here so that I could do reconstruct again for you. See, delete lower. Now I can do it, but I can always reconstruct. So we have the curve flat snap brush. I'll come over here and I'll just hold shift so that it goes all the way around. There we go. Now I don't need this curve anymore. Delete. And then you can see it's unmasked. So if I split unmasked points, boom, there it goes. And then just to wrap it up, we'll go reconstruct. Look at that. Now we've got our divisions back. Okay, so we'll come over here to our belts. So cool. So now we'll just have this guy so I can turn symmetry back on, just start getting in position. But here you go. Just like cloth, the thing about belts is you need to have uniform thick poly, right? See, we lost a bunch of that settings. You can see, chemically figuring out the thickness of my belt. Isn't this better? Here you go. We have a belt, and instead of going up to, then I can position it however I want. It's finished while keeping it low and fully dynamic. So then you get something back. And then not great, right? It's got these like triangle things, you know, got some intersections, and we don't have subdivision levels. The flow's not great. So it'd be very difficult to turn this into a finished, polished mesh. So we want much better topology to work. Got a problem with the nose, and a common trouble area is the eyes. It's kind of pinching and we're losing the depth. Let's get a little bit more. Then what I'll do right now is I'll make polygroups of the different sections. Quickly, I'll come in here and I'll just draw a mask around the eye. Okay, so we want a circle. Come in here, I'll show you with polygroups. We'll go group masked, doink. A group right there, good. I'll turn off line for now so we can just look at the sections. All right, so now we might want to put the ears on their own circle here. Group masked, hide those ears. Then we can use slice. Slice is a way that we can actually just slice up the mesh just from polygroups. And also it does add a line, does add a cut line. So we want it to come in right here. Trying to get the tear duct. There we go. And then another thing we can do in addition to polygroups is you can actually just emphasize the form, because Z Remesh is also looking for form changes, and the more dramatic the change, the more likely it's going to try to put some topology there to preserve the line, right? So you could just like slice right down the middle with the slice brush. You can also do something like get damn standard, and then rather than drawing in lines like that, you could hold Alt so that it pulls up, and then I'm going to pull a sharp line down the middle where this topology might go. Same with the nostrils. By trying to emphasize that this is a border here, it's more likely that we'll get topology here, and you'll see in a second why this can be useful. So now we have this stuff. Before we run it, you can see we got jaggy lines because we use group masked. Well, we can still go back to our handy smooth groups brush. See? Always looking for an excuse. Anything that you actually slice is going to be perfectly straight, but anything that you do from a mask is going to be janky. All right, so we'll draw our line back on here. Now let's run it again. So we have a little bit more density in our topology, the number. So that should give us a little bit more resolution to capture some of the form. And we're using polygroups, and we're using actual form changes that we sculpted in to give us a more predictable result, hopefully. Before we run it though, we need to make sure that we're going to tell Z Remesh to use our groups. So we're going to click keep groups. And you can see smooth groups is a parameter that comes up online. So by default, smooth groups is set to 1. So it's actually going to keep in mind those groups, but then kind of like smooth them together. So you might lose some of the shape, but we'll keep it at 1 and see what we get before we tweak it. So I'll hit Z Remesh and see what we get. All right, so now it's up. So now let's take a look. So you can see a little bit better than we had before. We actually have a loop that goes all the way around. And we look over here at this eye, it's like totally messed up. You can see at least we're getting a circle around the eye, but there's still some problem areas. So let's try adding even more polygroups and reinforcing some more of these form edges to see if we can get an even better quality. So first we'll reinforce the eye topology, and then we want to do the nose and the mouth. And then we'll slice it along the inner lip line. It should get it already, honestly, but this could help really ensure. There we go. All right, now we're cooking. Now we'll hit it and see if we get a mesh that is a lot closer to what we want in the end. All right, there we go. So this has outlined the features better than it did before. See, like not perfect for sure. Sometimes I would come in here and just clean stuff up. Like I can just go to the Z modeler brush, kind of delete this guy and then weld this to here, that kind of stuff. But in general, you can see the part that we didn't do on the eye is pretty messed up. But this is outlining the features and it's still super low, right? So that's what we want, and that's why we took the time to do these extra steps in doing polygroups and reinforcing some of those forms. Because now we can combine this with the first tip, and I can divide this up. Bump, bump, bump. I can come over to my palette. I'll turn everything off except our original. So now we'll project, not at the full res. Right now I'll do project on 3, project all, doink, and I'll go up a couple times. Make sure the topology is not too pinched.
お疲れ様です。KDDI の木川田です。
Okay, so we're almost there. Let's divide one more time, and we'll do one more project. And this one's probably going to take a while because it's a heavier mesh. You can see at the top, it's thinking a lot more than it did before. But that's how we're going to capture all the detail we had in our original sculpt, that original shape. Okay, so here we are projected. Let's zoom in here, okay, and we'll jump over to the original. Here's the original mesh. That's Dynamesh. You can see the topology, all the little, janky triangles and stuff. Now we'll pop over to the new one. Can't even really see a difference other than these little things moving, but we actually have more res. And now look at our topology. If I group everything as one color, you can see the flow now. We can drop all the way down and look at that. Now we have this nice mesh we can make big movements on. If we divide all the way back up, it looks exactly how we had before. So this is really the power of combining the things like Z-Remesher and polygroups together to make finished models after the fact. And then we used projection to project the model we made initially. So I'm going to show you 85 is set. That's a good length. Maybe 100. Cool. Background image stored. So now if I go File, Save As, and I save this project, it'll save all my cameras with my hotkey this. If I come over here, hold Control and Alt, click this, and then go Shift Q. Now I've got Shift Q, flips back and forth. Check that out. Now I can do over here and go, oh, you know what? The nose is a little bit like, got a nice eyeball like this. Cool. Then I go, yeah, looking good, right? I can also do this with multiple. So if I make this a hotkey, then I can toggle between my different angles, each with their own reference image. Isn't that cool? And I can always toggle this on and off. Come in here and I can say, you know what? I need to like see way through this. There we go. Yeah. And then move this around. And there we go. This goes like this. Yes. I like this, And there you go. So this makes it really easy to jump around in the different reference images, toggle between the transparency, and really help you dial in your likeness. If you're just
IT スキルを学ぶお金がない。それなら最大55万円。
これ俺いいなと思うのは今受けとくと先生
3D 制作初心者でも始めやすいブレンダーを使ってリアルでハイクオリティ